Hi everyone, in this video I'll be covering my pool plans in DFFOO Global in the upcoming arc where Lunafreya will be a synergy character. You can refer to the cropped infographic on the left hand side of the slide, which was derived from the thewereotter's global forecast, and I'll put a link in the video description to the full forecast as well, so do check it out if you need the full forecast to help you plan your pools. These events will be Act 3 Chapter 9.1, Iroha's intersecting wheels, and Act 3 Chapter 9.2. Quick disclaimer though, that although I'll be sharing my pool plans, the pool plans here really reflect my own personal playstyle and preferences, as well as of course characters that I already have in my roster and characters that I want to fill in the gaps. So therefore, they may or may not be ideal for you. I always highly recommend for everyone to do your own research as well into the upcoming characters so that you can make the best informed decision for yourself whether or not a character is fitting for your playstyle and preferences. I may not cover every single character on the banners due to time constraints, but I will cover characters who I think are more noteworthy than most. Before heading into Lunafreya's arc, just a quick tally about how I did in Sherlotta's FRBT arc. I spent quite a lot of tickets there. Firstly, I went pulling hard on Sherlotta's banner because I really wanted to have her FR and BT weapon, so I went in with tickets. Now I spent 720 tickets on this one banner alone, but that's mainly because I wanted to see whether I could score a BT weapon along the way, and I actually scored 4 of her FRs by the 720th ticket and still no burst weapon, and by then I thought I'd just skip the burst weapon for then. After that we had Reno's intersecting wheels, so I went in with tickets as well, trying to score both of Sherlotta's burst and Reno's FR weapon there. By the 140 tickets, I did get 1 copy of Reno's FR, and I decided to just cut my losses there and instead spend 50 burst tokens on Sherlotta's BT weapon. Beyond that, I skipped all the other banners on this arc. I did have Cloud of Darkness already greened, so to me I think that's good enough. I made do on her event without her FR weapon. Alright, so we'll kick things off with a character that's hyped by many players, and that's Lunafreya. Since Lunafreya is a new character in the GL version of the game, I'll just quickly go through a couple of things about her kit. She is quite a strong support role character in the game. She's got pretty good support auras going for her, and on top of that, she also has the Party Ice Enchant, which can be useful for players who, for example, pulled for Covenant's FR but lack the Ice Enchant. You can now do that with Lunafreya in the party. She can also heal and battery the entire party pretty consistently, and her S1 is also a force gauge charging tool because it's instant turn and doesn't do damage. Before talking about her LD, I'll just cover quickly about her BT and her FR weapons. Her force attack enables the water true enchant to the entire party, so during Lunafreya's force time, the entire party will be enchanted by ice and true enchanted by water elemental. Her force time bonus increases by 20% each when you do an ice or water elemental attack, and since she enchants both elements, you would expect at least a floor of 40% bonus per turn. In addition, if your attack buffs another unit in the party, you get an additional 20%. So overall, her force time bonus is pretty solid. It's not bad. It has a floor of 40% and a ceiling of 60%, and you usually go between both of them depending on your party composition. While in force time, you also get additional Brave and HP regen to boot. Her BT aura I didn't put on this slide, but it provides some nice key boosts to offensive stats, which is always nice to have on a support character. Now just based on this, you might be wondering why is Lunafreya so hyped, because from the sounds of it, her force time bonus is, it's not bad, but it's not broken either. Most characters can actually do between 40 to 60% pretty consistently now, so hers is overall a solid FR. And her BT aura, while good, it also doesn't really differentiate her versus other support characters. So the key difference here comes in the form of LD, and this is why I left her LD weapon to the last. And in fact, if you really want to successfully use Lunafreya, you must have her LD, and you should learn how to use her LD to its fullest potential. First off, when she has her LD passive equipped, she gains access to her prayer mechanic, and which is her brave and HP attack will be converted to quick prayer and heavy prayer respectively. Heavy prayer provides an ally with a temporary attack boost, in a way pretty similar to Ifrit summon buff. It can be especially useful on character who takes very few turns or who specialize in off-turn damage, for example Kayn and Freya, or counter tanks such as Galuf or Horan. The key prayer though that many people, myself included, will likely abuse is her quick prayer. When you grant her quick prayer buff to an ally, they get 2 instant turns for free, and they get free skill use of either their S1, S2 or additional ability. And in my opinion, this is the key that makes Lunafreya extremely powerful. In this era, having multiple consecutive turns can be a very good thing depending on the character that receives the buff, considering that in Force time you usually want 1 or 2 key characters hogging multiple consecutive turns, and Lunafreya's prayer can quickly enable a unit to do that. In addition, given that the quick prayer turns are free, you can also abuse this to get low turn runs, for example buffing Kayn with quick prayer so that he can go BT plus and LD without increasing the turn count. Or if you want a certain character to have multiple turns in a row to complete their setup. I think one good example here is you can quick prayer Sherlotta, for example, and have her use her BT plus and then her LD. Beyond that, when you actually use her LD skill itself, the LD skill is instant turned, doesn't increase the turn count, and provides the prayer buff to all allies immediately as well. So it is extremely powerful, and in the right party setup, Lunafreya can do quite a lot of things. She does already have the utility to quick charge the force gauge. She is a strong party elemental enchanter. She provides extremely strong auras and buffs to the party, especially with her BT aura, and on top of that she has somewhat of a turn manipulation with a quick prayer and an additional HP bonus boost in the heavy prayer. And altogether as a package, I think it probably places Lunafreya right at the top in terms of support character ranking. This time around, I also want to quickly mention the secondary banner. I usually quickly skip over the secondary banner, but in this case, I think even the secondary banner holds value, especially for newer players, if you have the resources to spare. First off, regarding Ultimecia, she's quite a strong magic DPS character, and she really specializes in terms of turn hogging, which is taking multiple turns when she uses her EX. And with her rework, instead of 1 free ability use after her EX, she now gets 2 free ability uses, which significantly increases her longevity. Her EX and her skill uses has also been reworked to increase their HP dumps and damage overall. And not forgetting also, her BT aura allows her the ability to also delete enemies' turns. So if you green Ultimecia, for example, you gain access to 2 ways or 2 opportunities to delete the enemy's turns. And in this era especially, you can pair her with often damage dealers such as Young or Cisne or Kayn or Freya, and during her multiple consecutive turns, she will do tremendous amounts of damage. The good thing is, one of the characters I mentioned, Young, is also on her banner, and he also gets a rework. Notably, Young's often damage increases in HP dumps. It should do roughly about 300,000 or so HP damage per kick now. And one great rework about Young is that his LD buff got a huge increase in duration. It used to be only 2 turns. I believe it's now 8 turns overall. Having both of these characters in one banner is pretty good in terms of value for resources, because if you pull on that banner, you can get access to both Ultimecia and Young at one shot. The drawback though is that the rest of Lunafreya's gear, other than her FR, isn't on that banner, so if you want Lunafreya's LD or EX, you do need to pull on the first banner. For myself, I'm skipping the second banner, and that's mainly because I already have everything on the second banner, including all of Ultimecia's gear and Young's gear, so I'll be focusing on the first banner. I very rarely use gems. The last time I used was on Xcaliblur's banner, but this time I aim to go in straight gems for Lunafreya, mainly because I'm missing all of her gear, so using gems makes it easier to score most of her gear while I'm chasing for her LD and FR. I do plan to pull until I get both her LD and FR, and I do hope to score her BT weapon along the way, but if I don't, I may hold off on her BT until I complete pulling on the next banner after this. And the next banner after Lunafreya will be Iroha's Intersecting Wheels, featuring the release of Iroha's FR. Both Iroha and Sabin will receive a rework. Before talking about Iroha, just a quick mention about Sabin and Raijin. First of all, in terms of Sabin's often damage, while the damage calculation for that is usually done in a similar manner to say Xdeath's Poison, because it's based off her attack stat and it's sort of like a true often damage because it's not mitigated by enemies' defense or brave damage resistances. However, the one difference here is that Sabin's often damage does scale with force bonus, because it's not classified as an HP poison type of damage. Even though the damage formula is similar, it's actually considered more as a trap type of damage instead. Raijin, although he doesn't receive a rework on this banner, I think deserves special mention as well, on the basis of the strength of his LD call. Raijin's LD call is one of the best defensive calls in the game, because it lands a 2-turn debuff on all enemies that will have a 100% reduced HP damage done. So any HP damage that they deal to you will be reduced by 100%, and that usually makes it 0 damage instead. And his LD debuff also prevents enemies from inflicting any debuffs on you for that 2 turns. Iroha's FR has a good utility in the sense that it cleanses all debuffs on your party when you use it, and that's always a good bonus because debuff cleansing isn't actually a very common utility in the game. To me, I would consider her FR more as a generalist FR, because while the bonus isn't terribly huge, at most you can get 50% bonus per turn. That being said, the conditionals for increasing her FR bonus is quite easy to fulfill, very similar to what Ursula's FR can do. First off, anytime you end a turn with your current brave at least 20% or more of your max brave, you get a 20% boost to force bonus. With Iroha in the party, it is actually quite easy to meet this force conditional, because she does have the ability to give you a 20% brave discount on your HP dumps, so most of the time you will be ending with a bit of residual brave as well to meet this conditional. Next up, anytime you end your turn with at least 100% or more HP, you get a 30% boost, and as long as you haven't taken any HP damage, you are definitely going to meet this conditional as well. So the great thing about her FR is that the moment you pop it, that you don't really have to worry about hogging turns or anything like that. You can just allow your entire party to take their turns regularly, and you should still be hitting the full 50% bonus every single turn that you take. I was actually a bit on the fence for this banner, firstly because I already do have Ursula's FR weapon to fulfill my needs for a more general FR. However, I am leaning more towards pulling, especially with tickets, partly because I do need to clear co-op shop with tickets, as well as claim some tickets on the hunt tokens by the time this banner rolls around. But beyond that, I think it's also not a bad idea getting 2 FRs that are pretty generalist, especially considering that we may get access to lockout events in the future similar to Dare to Defy. In those sort of events, having multiple FRs that you can easily fulfill the conditionals allow greater flexibility in team building. The final banner on this arc will be Act 3 Chapter 9.2, and this time there will be 2 banners featuring Sabin as a key character. Both banners will have Sabin, Quistis and Kuja, but the first banner will feature Lunafreya's BT and the second banner will feature Kuja's BT, so you can aim to pull on the banner depending on which BT weapon that you are missing. Sabin overall is a character that specializes in DPS that ignores enemies' defense because all of his moves at plus level, and you should be getting plus level virtually all the time anyway, will ignore enemies' defense. His FR does have a pretty cool mechanic where the moment you pop his force time, your entire party will then ignore enemies' defense as long as you remain in his force time. So in a way, that's actually pretty similar to Locke's BT aura. The drawback though is that his force bonus require you to either use Wind or Holy Brave damage. Each will give you a plus 30% to the force bonus. Sabin himself will have no issue hitting both the conditionals because his attacks have both the Wind and Holy element. The issue though is that Sabin doesn't enchant the party with either of the elements. So in order to hit the full 60% consistently, you do need to have a way to enchant the entire party with both of these elements. There's no core ability or character that can enchant both the elements at the same time, which means then that you need to either bring a party member that can enchant a party with one of these elements and a core ability to enchant with the other, or you need to bring 2 different core abilities to enchant both the elements to the party. This means that for Sabin FR to make full use of it, you do need to include a way to enchant the elements in the party, and this actually reduces team flexibility somewhat. And to me, I don't mind, if you have to put in additional work to get the full bonus out of your FR. There are other characters FR who also does require a bit of setup, but in Sabin's case, to do that and only get at most 60% bonus per turn in return, I think isn't really worth it. Especially also because Sabin himself doesn't have a burst weapon, so you can't do FR and then go into BT mode with Sabin, for example, which actually wouldn't be that bad because you then get 7 turns and all 7 turns will have hit the full 60% bonus. So overall, I think for me this banner is a skip. I would rather build other FR weapons and use them where it's easier to set up, or they at least provide bigger bonuses than Sabin's. So on this part of the video, I'll talk a bit about which characters I think will most deserve your tickets or gems if you have limited resources to pool. First of all, really big disclaimer that you should always focus more on roles that fills gap in your roster. So good value character, for example, yes, they are good value, but there are also many characters that I always place in the role fulfillment that you can consider to also pull for if you are lacking characters that fulfill their roles. The good value character in this arc I think is a no-brainer. It's really Lunafreya, and I know there's been a lot of debate and discussion on whether or not she deserves all the hype. A lot of people are mainly looking at her FR and BT, but really that's not the key in her utility. It's really her LD weapon. If you don't have a lot of resources, one approach is to maybe only pull until you get her EX and LD. That being said, if you have the resources to spare, I think it's not a bad idea going the full mile and pulling for her FR and burst weapon as well. Although her FR and burst weapon isn't exactly game breaking, they do complement her kit very nicely, and they are at the very least pretty solid overall. Now in terms of role fulfillment, there's 4 characters that I place here. First of all, there's Iroha and Raijin, which is good because they are both on the same banner. So if you are still lacking Raijin's LD, then I think this is a good banner to pull because you can also get access to a pretty solid FR in Iroha's FR. Iroha's FR I think holds a lot of value if you are lacking a more generalist FR, especially if you have skipped Ursula in the past. This would be your go-to FR in lockout stages where you can't bring your other key or your other top FRs that you usually use. Raijin, as I mentioned, holds a lot of value in his LD call. Now it may or may not be worth it to pull just for an LD call ability. I think that's a matter of personal opinion. I think it does, but you do have to take into consideration your resource level as well. Finally, I have both Ultimecia as well as Young, and these two are also on the same banner, and they actually synergize very well together as well. Ultimecia is really one of the more underrated units in the game. Many people usually skip her over in favor of other top DPS characters, and yes, while she's not exactly meta breaking or super top tier, she is actually extremely good in terms of dishing out turn efficient damage. The fact that she's also a DPS character that can actually delete turns is pretty rare, and that actually helps to serve a kit as well, because you can then take even more consecutive turns before the bosses ever get a single turn. And you can pair this with often damage dealer, and Young is actually a good example of this. Young's value I think is actually pretty good in this era, because this era really supports often damage quite a lot with the force mechanics. And if you have missed often damage dealers like Kayn, or you want more often damage dealers to complement your roster, then Young is actually a pretty good pickup. Alright, so that's it for this video. In summary, I will be planning to throw gems for Lunafreya, hoping to score her BT weapon on the way. I will be ticketing for Iroha's FR, and by the end of that banner, if I still don't have Lunafreya's BT, I may either go back with gems to get her BT, or just BT token her burst weapon altogether. I will be skipping Sabin's banner because I think that's a good opportunity to save, and I really don't like the issue with Sabin's FR being that you do need to enchant your party to make full use of his force conditionals. Thanks for watching, and as always, if the video has been helpful, do leave a like, comment or subscribe. It really helps a lot. Till then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!